Sometimes we value things like goals and callings other than a mission, and we don't understand that it takes missions, it takes seasons to go through so that we may get to our calling. But we may never get to our calling. We cannot value the mission according to its purpose and alignment, which is mission over goal before the calling. Period. Your life is the byproduct of your thinking. I created this show to give you tactics that will enhance your thinking so that you can live a life of freedom instead of a life of bitterness. To be well, you must think well. Here is your mind-molding tactic. There are 3 internal sectors you must be in an alignment in, or else you will become halted. These are the 3: your calling, your mission, your goal. In that order. Your calling is greater than your mission. The mission is greater than your goals. In that order. The problem sometimes is we misconstrue and misalign all of this. We misidentify what this actually means, and we value other sectors as sometimes we value the goals over the mission. Be aware that you are in awareness, that you are focusing correctly on the things that matters most. Because remember, some things are valuable and some things are priceless. And in certain environments, some things are priceless and some things are valuable. But those same things may become valuable that are priceless in other environments, which means that your goals may be priceless or your mission may be priceless in the presence of your goals. But your mission becomes valuable in the presence of your calling. Don't misconstrue that idea. The goal, the mission, the calling are all equally important in their own environment, in their own sector, in their own placement. Once you misplace those things, once you put those things over another thing, once you overlap and misplace one or unvalue one, then your life becomes halted, becomes dormant, becomes like a river that becomes stagnant, and infestation grows, diseases starts to grow. When you are on the line because of your goal, when the river slows down because it is no longer focused on its mission, which is to produce, which is to flow, and it slows down and it becomes stagnant, diseases come. And you want to be aware of this for yourself and your life. Remain in the alignment of your calling, your mission, and your goal. The calling, we will hit this first, is probably the biggest conundrum of the world today. Other than overcoming dumbness, figuring out why are you on this earth? Why did God give you another day to live? Is it to persecute another? Is it to plant your treasures in the ground and multiply nothing? What is the reason you can say that you are called to be on this earth? Like, what reason are you here? Because honestly, if you have no reason to live, then the world has no reason to allow you to live. This isn't me being narcissistic. This is saying that you must become aware of the ideal of what are you called to do. Like, why did God put you on this earth? What is that thing that is pulling you that means a lot to you? In whatever arena that may be in, whatever arena your calling may be in, it will be for something of productivity. The mission will be of productivity. The goal will be of productivity to produce for another. We talked about this on an episode previously about the world is made and you are made to produce for the world, and then you get your benefit. Same thing here. Your calling will always be to produce for what is needed for the world. Period. Your passion may come after that, but there is no calling, no true calling that is not beneficial for the world, that is not empowering for the world. You may have a distorted view, a biased perspective, a partial perspective of what is real, but you must understand to be effective, to be productive, To have value in life, your calling must be an element that is fitting for what the world needs. Not what the world wants, but what the world needs. To move the world forward, to implement, to fix, and applicate what is important for the world. So understand this. Your calling is not an cool idea. Not something that you can measure up and conjure up and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. No. It is not about that. It's much deeper. Because if you simply have a cool, superficial idea, then when things get hard, and they're supposed to, when things get hard, you back out. When things get hard, you don't last. When things get hard, you do not keep going because it's simply a superficial, sea level, over the top idea. Nothing that's important. Nothing that's you're committed to. Nothing that you're passionate about. Just something simply that you have a pain point you think you want to jump into. So callings are not cool ideas, but something that has been invested and planted into your heart long a time ago. And all you have to do is uncover that. Second is your mission is part of the calling. Most people get stuck here because they think, what is my mission? No. The goal is to find out what your calling is. Then you work top bottom, calling, mission, then goal. What are you called to do? And it's no pressure here. You may not find out. There's a good chance you won't even find out what you're called to do. But to have a general idea of what you're truly passionate about and how does that passion add up to what the world needs. And then just go towards that area. Lean into it. Dive into that. And then normally you will grow into what you are called to do. Then you have your mission. Your mission is part of the calling, but don't get stuck. Don't be afraid. Don't make this the goal of all. This is not the objective. The calling is the objective. The mission is the subjective part of the objective. Your mission is simply the micro steps it takes to build into the macro. The subjective things, the little lessons, the missions you go on, the seasons you are in, that builds up, that adds up to who you are called to become. So when you go through the valley, you must experience that valley so that you can experience the peak. That is the mission. The peak may be the calling, but you must go through the mission of the valley to experience the calling on the peak. Don't distort this. Sometimes we value things like goals and callings other than a mission, and we don't understand that it takes missions, it takes seasons to go through so that we may get to our calling. But we may never get to our calling. We cannot value the mission according to its purpose and alignment, which is mission over goal before the calling. Period. Know your mission. Become one with the mission, because the mission is what's present. The calling is the future. The mission is what's present, what is now. And when you become unaligned with what is present, you lose your trajectory because you have to work now. You have to be productive now. You have to build now towards the future. So don't get caught up in the calling. Know your calling, but be in the moment of the mission. Then lastly, you have your goal. Your goal is the bottom level. Your goal is simply the more practical thing of how do I hit these margins or these targets to simply allow me to even go there. Goals are simply confinements. Goals are simply structures that we live in, but nothing that we should thrive in or make our whole objective point on. Goals are simply things we should recognize. Like, this is something our goal is. But the goal is the structure. The goal is the cup. And the mission is the wine. The goal allows the mission to exist. So you have the cup, you have the wine, and the calling is to drink, right? And so the point you must understand is the structure of things is simply the goals. If you have no goals, you have no structure. You can't have the wine, you can't have the quenching of thirst. And so the whole purpose behind all of this is, what is the goal? But if you don't know your calling and you do not know your mission, you cannot know your goal. But if you do not have a goal, you cannot have a mission. And if you cannot have a mission, you cannot have a calling. And so be aware of this process. Do not misconstrue any of these ideas. Lean into them inherently. Dive into this and digest all of this I'm giving you, because it is very important for not only the stability of humanity, but the success, and the ability for humanity to thrive. I know this is a longer episode, and I do apologize, but I want you to understand and live a life of love, health, and peace. That's it. And so lastly, calling, mission, and goal. But to build, you must understand that your calling, your mission, and your goal must be in alignment. Your calling comes before your goal, your mission. Your mission comes before your goal, but you cannot get to your mission until you build that goal. And you cannot get to your calling until you learn your mission. But you work top bottom. What is my calling? Who am I called to become? What is the mission that gets me there? And what are the goals that allows that mission to exist? And then you are on the path of not success, but health and wellness. And then as you grow as a person, God will take you forward, and you will learn how to persist and grow as a human being, because we are all called to thrive, not survive. Talk to you later. Deuces.